The Elizabeth Gurley Flynn sign was taken down, I heard. Let's go check it out. This is the New England Take. Policy, politics, and life in New England. I'm your host, AJ Kierstead, thenewenglandtake.com. So the sign's down, check some footage of that. I think it is for the best. It's not erasing history. It's just also the same as not erasing history when Fort Hood is no longer named Fort Hood. It's named after a Confederate soldier. He was a general with the Union before the Confederacy, but he abandoned his country to do that. And with that, there are consequences. And with Flynn, guess what? She abandoned her country to join the USSR in the 40s after the initial genocides that they had over there. Signs like that are supposed to be an honorable thing. They're supposed to show that our culture here in America respects these people for whatever reason. Whether it is they were leaders in their community, they were groundbreaking civil rights leaders that didn't also turn into communists in Soviet Russia and had celebrations of their funeral in Red Square, directly from their Wikipedia right here. This was also listed in WBUR's list article on this. It's actually New Hampshire Public Radio did the original writing for it. And I'll link it in the episode description if you really want to get all the details of what happened with this. I mean, the big thing with this is the city of Concord was getting nailed for this. City of Concord had nothing to do with this sign. They were like, you guys can do whatever you want. They just make sure that jurisdictionally the authority is fine. It's not going to impact anything with streets or their signage or anything like that. And this ended up coming down to a New Hampshire Journal actually did a great coverage of this. I think Damian Fisher did the writing for he's a reporter over there. And Sununu was livid. He had no idea the background on this woman. There's so many things going on when you're the governor. You're not keeping track of every little signage thing that's getting added. So Sununu is catching all sort of flack. Republicans are rolling a tizzy over it. Understandably, sure, yes, I talked about erasing history. We shouldn't erase the history where this woman did have impactful origins when it came to her protecting unions, whether it was working with helping found the American Civil Liberties Union before they decided to do the nonsense they're doing over the last 10 or 20 years, back when they were actually there to protect the civil rights of Americans. She was a part of that, and that's amazing. The issue is then she proceeded to run the Communist Party of America, which is quite problematic in my opinion. I mean, and she ended up going to prison for a while for allegedly plotting the overthrow of the United States. And anyone that wants to just shoot that down, they're just getting rid of, it was just partisanship where our government was against anything related to communism. No. Communism, at its base, is revolutionary ideology. At its most basic level, it is there to unite the entire planet under a single ideology. And we'll hear some nonsense about, Christian nations do the same thing. It's different. I understand there's many problems with capitalism and free markets in this country and around the world, and corporatism is obviously a problem I have spoken out against repeatedly on the show. So don't call me inconsistent when it comes to that. Communism and socialism are revolutionary ideologies that aim to destabilize and take over whatever nation they can get in their purview. And this woman was a nationwide leader and well respected under Stalinist Russia. Unacceptable. If, as I was saying before with Fort Hood, all these, there's a difference between when you're there's a difference between just randomly tearing down statues of George Washington, which, I understand that, all our founding fathers had problematic issues. It was the 1700s, it was the 1800s. No one was perfect. Everything was very different culture than it is right now. But if you're just going around ripping down statues without going through due process and such, that's a problem. This went through the correct process. There was a problem with the original process. It was reviewed and it was taken back down. And I could not be happier to see it. I'm kind of entertained by seeing all the lefties that are supposedly what is it? Oh, civil libertarians. Where I had to look up. They're not libertarians. They're civil libertarians. It's social justice 101 is all that ideology is, and don't confuse that from traditional liberty-loving libertarians, as I view myself as. At least I hope others agree that I somewhat have that ideology and live up to it in some fashion. But we should not be honoring those that tried to overthrow our country one way or another, whether it's through literal civil war or ideology that over time probably would have caused some pretty catastrophic issues. Like I said, I'll put the details from the Wikipedia page where you can really get some, it's actually a pretty good entry into the background on her, and as well as the WBUR's article on this, because it's important. You actually get to know all the details. This is one of those things where it's very easy to get just sucked into the culture war aspect of it, which is understandable. I mean, it looked a little shady, because guess what? Republicans are just as guilty as Democrats when it comes to knee-jerk reactionary, we're going to freak out about everything because it had socialist or right-wing on it when you're talking the opposite side. And in this situation, they were correct. Sununu was correct to be quite upset, and it'll be interesting to see if there's some changes to procedure when it comes to such things, because it's one of those things that the governor's just going to rubber stamp it, generally speaking. He doesn't have time to micromanage and look into the bios of all these different people for these historical signs. But if it's got the state seal on it, my God, it's got to be approved. And actually, and before you freak out, make sure you're barking up the right tree. Once again, the city of Concord had nothing to do with this. They just made sure that, hey, it looks good from a land perspective, it's not going to be obstructing anything, and it belonged to the state. It was state property. The city had no way to remove it, and the commissioner over there is probably going to be looked at a little more closely when she wants to do more of these sorts of signs in the future. Alright, it's the New England Take. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Check out the newenglandtake.com. And also, if you want to be a contributor to the show, if you want to do little videos around where you live in New England, if you want to write, if you are a lefty that disagrees with me, please let me know. I want to have people on my site that disagree with me. I am one voice. Dexter's another voice. We don't agree on anything, but we agree on a fair bit. I want to get some people that think we're totally wrong 100% of the time, because I think it's entertaining to have conversations on this. Not necessarily debates, but conversations. Talk to you later.